Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, civil society friends, ladies and gentlemen. As we approach the close of this profound and spirited discourse, my heart is filled not with sentimentality, with a renewed sense of moral urgency. This side event, convened by the NGO Committee on Spirituality, Values, and Global Concerns, together with the Legion of Goodwill and of the Brahma Kumaris, returns us to the purpose of our gathering at the Commission on Status of Women, not only to reflect on the state of the world, but to collaborate toward the realization of the world as it ought to be. I thank the NILO and this committee for convening us and for your steadfast insistence that values, deep values, lived values, spiritual values, shape public discourse and genuinely influence policymaking. As we close, allow me to speak from the moral center that brought us into this room. The conviction that dignity is not an ornament of policy, it is its very reason. And because dignity is the reason, justice must be its method. This year at CSW70, the world's focus is rightly fixed on a single urgent priority: ensuring and improving access to justice for all women and girls through inclusive and fair legal systems, the removal of discriminatory laws, and the dismantling of structural barriers that keep too many from claiming their own truth and their own rights. This is not a technocratic task. It is a moral and a civic call to action for all. Let us remember what we know in short name, the UN Women, is in fact the United Nations entity for gender equality and empowerment of women. Let us not forget it is not only about women, but women and girls, men and boys. And I think the questions raised made that even more urgent. I often say that multilateralism at its best is a spiritual practice, a discipline of listening across differences, negotiating with empathy, and building consensus for the common good. Imperfect as our institutions are, the United Nations remains a vital forum where we protect human dignity, we advance human rights, we pursue peace and security, and seek sustainable development together. We support these institutions not because they are perfect, but because they remain the framework through which shared values become shared commitments. I remember Doug Hammarskjöld being quoted as having said, the United Nations is not intended to bring us to heaven. It is at least intended to save us from going to hell. Tenderness is what courage looks like when it refuses to become cruelty. No, I'm sorry. I missed the page. Hang into that thought. Today, we had the privilege to walk with Luisa Brune. Muito obrigado, Luisa. Te lo sei testamento poderoso e coraggioso. Thank you for your courageous witness today. Your journey in public life has become a form of public service. You speak of violence with remarkable clarity. You have carried your personal pain into purposeful advocacy. In Rio, you have stood with campaigns ensuring that the carnival joy is never misused as an excuse of harassment. Abroad, you have brought your message to parliaments and embassies. You have spoken not only about the violence you have witnessed in childhood, but the violence you have suffered later in life. Even here in UN spaces, you have beautifully and courageously transformed biography into public testimony. Through your courage, you have taught us something vital, that the personal story is not distracting from justice. It is the path that leads us to justice. Permit me to situate your witness within a framework I bring into my own multilateral work: the healing of the human body and the healing of the body politic. The first six: biological awareness, wholeness, safety, safe spaces, care, recovery, a life without fear and harassment. The second six: civic repair, laws, budgets, procedures, and norms that support or obstruct that healing. In my own work, I affirm that budgets are moral documents. You put money to where you believe, or to your beliefs. The healing of the body and the healing of the body politic are interconnected. When one is neglected, both suffer. To promote cohesion, I advocate a dual framework that I offer for these closing remarks: an infrastructure of welcome and hospitality, and an architecture of protection and solidarity. Infrastructure is the threshold, what we can do now to ease people's pain. And Louisa brought that clearly so well before us. Understanding the pain, be open to hear that narrative and stories, documenting them without weaponizing them. It leads people from fear to safety without forcing them to recall of the wounds they carry. The architecture is what stands beyond the threshold, making sure that we put what we believe and turn them into law. That's the importance of the United Nations. It's a norm and rules-based order built around consensus by a multi-stakeholder process. Together, these two, infrastructure and the architecture, the welcoming infrastructure and the protective architecture, turn compassion into method and method into justice. They transform mercy from an impulse into justice, which is much more solid and foundational. That is how the healing of bodies and the healing of the body politic, of the citizenry, if you will, become inseparable. Some may say this language is too tender for hard-nosed negotiations. Certainly, the diplomats out there says you're being too sentimental. I offer the opposite view, and here it comes. Tenderness is what courage looks like when it refuses to become cruelty. Others wonder whether our institutions, so often criticized, still deserve our defense. They do, because ethical multilateralism is how we teach our differences to work for the common good. Without the United Nations, there is no common table on which to set the bread of justice. We know the delays, the stalemates, the frustrations, but we also know the alternative: a world where power speaks through arms and armaments rather than instruments of peace. What then does this mean for the work ahead? It means testimony, just like what Luisa offered so powerfully and courageously, must move forward from this hall to every paragraph that the CSW is now currently crafting for their final document. In practical terms, this means discriminatory clauses must give way to equality. Survivor-centered measures appear not only in declarations but in procedures, and so much more. I'll skip that paragraph so that we can. So we know the spirit of our time. Some critique the rules-based order. Many feels that trust and resources in multilateral spaces are thin. Yet we choose not cynicism but resilient hope. So this is not perfect occasion for optimism. It is hope shaped by having overcome difficulty, hope fortified by the work we have witnessed in this very room, in the very testimony of Luisa. Let me end with a blessing shaped by responsibility. May our warm welcomes turn into enduring policies. May our unity be more than sentiment. May it be a guiding principle. May our spirituality be the gentle discipline that helps us keep our promises when no one is watching. We thank the NGO Committee on Spirituality, Values, and Global Concerns for gathering us and nurturing conscience in this space We offer deep gratitude to Louisa Brunet, whose brave and courageous witness stands with survivors everywhere, reminding us that stories spoken truthfully can save lives. May the healing of bodies be gentle and swift. May the healing of the body politic be strong and lasting. And may ethical multilateralism hold these healings together until every woman and girl, every man and boy, without fear or shame, stands, speaks, and thrives in dignity. Thank you.